You're listening to the Variety Sports Network, your home for the best sports podcasters and live shows.
And welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Joining you live here Sunday morning, January 15th, 2023, on a wild Saturday of sports action. Tyler, we got a lot to get into. We got your Niners, obviously, talk about. We got a crazy night game to get into where, of course, the Chargers are involved in something wild. We'll get into our usual Warriors. We'll touch on some things around the NBA as well. And then we'll wrap it up, of course, like we always do with our winners and losers. And like usual here, brought to you by Variety Sports Network. Make sure you follow Tyler over there at Tyler McGurk over at Twitter, and follow over me at Fatboy FadeAway. Also at Twitter. Be sure to be checking us out live here on YouTube on either of those platforms. Tyler McGurk, Saturday morning here, coming off a victory. How we doing here?
I'm doing great. Very good Saturday to start the playoffs. The Niners looked good in the second half. First half was a little struggle. I was a little frustrated, but everything came around. It's dry outside as of now when it comes to the rain, with all the rain we've had here in Northern California. But all in all, a good Saturday, and I'm excited for this Sunday of football.
Well, this is one of those weeks we're at the house where you got laundry machine goes down. That's a bad thing. So we had to, thank goodness it rained. I actually threw a few clothes outside that actually. And then last night we were trying to record our little preview for the Cowboys Bucks. And I'm like trying to all right, where can I squeeze this in? The kids are about to be home. It's pouring down rain. So I'm trying to do that dance, right? Like, all right, the wife, is going to be, we'll see hit or miss here for a little bit. So you got to try to plan that out. And they're like, well, we're going to pick up pizza. I'm like, all right, perfect. I got a few minutes. And then what happens? Sure enough, they come home early because Xavier's got to throw up. And now we're on to something new here at the house. That's what happens when you got three kids. Always something.
Sounds like an exciting weekend over
at the household. We did squeeze in the preview show, so be sure to check that out. Cowboys, Bucks. Definitely with that. So, Tyler, I guess with that said, we got a lot to get into. Like we said, we're here. Like I said, feel free to comment, complain, whatever you want. Check my spelling, anything you want to do. That's always recommended there for us here. All right, my little quick wake and hot take. You kind of mentioned it as well. Got to love those playoff end zones, right? Those are like the best part. I always love that part of the playoffs.
Yeah, it adds an extra dimension, especially the Niner red end zones to me. It feels safe. It feels like we're in real playoff football, games that matter. And it's just exciting. And it looks a lot cooler. Like, I wish they did it all regular season. I guess maybe it would lose its luster if they did. But I really love when teams like the Raiders, when they're good and they have the black end zones. It just makes for a cool looking field.
The black end zones, the Niners do a good job with theirs. I always feel like the Jaguars should do like a black end zone too there, but they go teal in that one. But yeah, we'll see. I always like the Bengals one too. Because in the regular season, remember when they used to play at Riverfront, they always had the worst end zone where it's just the blank.
Just lines.
It was just nothing. We always got a kick out of that because there was nothing there. And then when they made the lines, like rare times they would, or occasionally they would put like the end zone. I'd be like, they have the sickest one when they do it. So I always think that's a small little part of the playoffs there that it's hard not to like. So that's my little wake and hot take from the weekend there that I had to point out. And then of course. I don't know if you saw Ja Morant's dunk last night. Oh my gosh, what a freaking nature play that was. Just when talking about an athletic just feat. I mean, the way he rocks back too is just, I mean, that's one of the best dunks I've seen in a while.
Yeah, right over Jalen Smith of Indiana. His contortion with his back. How does he not hurt his back doing that? He brings it all the way back. And
somebody says he's better than is he a better dunker than D Rose? I mean, I don't see how he is. D Rose never did one-handed like that, did he? Or at least I didn't see him in them be I don't remember. I mean,
most of D Rose's were too.
No, don't get me wrong. He had a couple. He had some nasty dunks. Let's not shortchange D Rose by any means. But Morant, I feel like, is there. So those are a few things I saw early. All right, let's get into your Niners here. That's what we're here for, right? feel like let's just jump right into it, man. Niners, they play well yesterday. They end up maybe I shouldn't say they play well. They kind of I don't feel like they played bad necessarily. I feel like the Seahawks were game a little bit in the first half. You know what I mean? They maybe had that bad play that bad turnover at the end or bad penalty at the end of the first half that kind of changed. Look, it could just be a momentum changer. But what do you think for the most part? You guys played pretty well. Give me your reactions to the game.
We'll start with the negative first. The secondary, not being able to guard DK Metcalf leaves a lot to be desired going forward with the likes of CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson in the future. So, that's a little worrisome. Tavarius Ward got beat often by DK Metcalf. But the Brock Purdy show must go on. He's absolutely – who is this guy? Who is he going to be? He's like a mixture of Garcia, Gannon, at best, I don't want to say he's not Montana, but he kind of plays. He can move. He doesn't have the greatest arm. He gets the ball out quick. He's just dynamic, and the intensity he plays with. You can see it in his how excited he gets. And he's done it for 6 weeks now. It's not too small of a sample size. Going forward for the rest of the year, it kind of has that Kaepernick feel where he seems unguardable at this point. We'll see how teams make adjustments later on in the playoffs, but he's been great, and it's ridiculous.
That crazy play where he's scrambling for 8 seconds or something like that. Just to be, and
then Ayuk drops it. Those type of plays, we've never had a quarterback like that. I mean, Kaepernick would run straight line fast for touchdowns, but yeah.
So let me go right to it. If you're Kyle Shanahan, this was is he even your biggest concern anymore? Remember, that's the reason we're not going to pick the Niners. Is there even another area where you're even concerned, or you guys feel like you're a perfect team right now?
No, we're not perfect. The secondary is our biggest concern. DK Metcalf doesn't even run. He just uses his big body and makes plays. He doesn't even run routes.
He did have a big game yesterday.
When you play Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, that's my biggest worry, is stopping those big playmakers. The pass rush wasn't great yesterday, but going forward, I have faith in the D-line to make some plays.
So you believe Purdy's put away all the questions then at this point?
Not all of it. I mean, if he comes out,
I saw DA comment earlier the day yesterday saying that he did look a little shooken at the beginning there. What do you kind of make of those comments at the start?
No, I agree. His first throw was one of the worst throws I've ever seen. But I think that had a lot to do with the rain. He threw a little lollipop over Debo's head that should have been picked, but luckily no Seahawks defender was there. He missed some reads. I'm sure if it was Jimmy G, there'd be these all 22 films showing Debo running open over the middle. That this guy's he's new and he's winning, so he's going to get away with these things. But he did play great in the second half. He put him away when he needed to.
Look, you're right about the Seahawks part of it, though, with Metcalf, with Brown. If you look ahead to the Eagles, I always like to kind of look. It's hard not to look ahead a little bit, right? Obviously you said Jefferson. Those teams. Let's kind of go to those teams a little bit too. Is there one of those teams that maybe you don't want the Niners to kind of face, or do you feel any way about any of those teams?
I'm pretty confident about all three of the teams they will play next week. The Eagles are the scary team. The Eagles are the team that look like the Niners in the mirror, especially with Purdy and the Jalen Hurts. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is more proven, but Debo and A.J. Brown, and then Devontae Smith and Ayuk, and then Goddard and Kittle. Kittle probably has a little edge there, and they both have good defenses that make plays. So I think that's the matchup that I've been waiting for all year. I hope we get it in the NFC Championship game. Anything can happen in the NFL. But I do think the Niners and Eagles will meet in the NFC Championship game.
I always feel like I can't wait to have this conversation with you next week, because after you see these games and if Minnesota or Dallas looks really good, you'll be like, well, Lane Parsons could ruin a game for us.
You're right. Everything could change.
So because I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at it. I was like, man, if I was you guys, I wouldn't necessarily feel I don't know, one of these teams are super, because none of them are super established in any regard. So I think that's the reason the Eagles still remain and the Eagles aren't established either, but they just, this year have proven they can have the highest ceiling. So I think that's the reason in that regard.
Yeah, they had the dominant run already. We've seen them run off games and dominate the whole NFL or their whole schedule. Tampa, we already played. We know what we can do to them. Minnesota's defense, offensive line absolutely sucks, and their defense can be beat. And then Dallas is Dallas. You expect them to falter at some point. They'll give you a chance to win the game.
The weather report was a little off. Wasn't as rainy as people were saying it was going to be there.
No, during game time, it kind of slowed down.
we'll see if that plays a factor at all. Next week is supposed to be pretty nice out here next week, so it shouldn't matter at all. All right, anything else with the Niners game that you kind of really want to focus on as well? Like anything? I mean, I don't know.
I want to ask you.
Like,
I want to ask you from the outside. Is this the one? Like, can you think off the top of your head a better group of weapons? Like for 1 through 5, like they're all like obviously the Rams on the greatest show on turf, but that's like 3 deep. And like the Colts with Wayne goes 4 deep with Clark, Harrison. I can't think of a more deep set of weapons in recent memory.
Yeah, no, you guys' weapons are really deep too, because the McCaffrey addition, and that was the part with the Niners too. I wonder if they learned from the Rams last year at all, and like just kind of go all in that sense, right? Like don't worry about the picks. They didn't really have to give up like crazy picks either, like the Rams have had to for McCaffrey. So I wonder in that regard too, like, did they learn from that lesson last year? I don't know. We'll see and I agree with you. I think from your guys' standpoint, the weapons you guys have is up there with any teams in the last like 10 years. I mean, the quarterback position is what doesn't establish you in that regard. But if you're looking at just weapons, when you have Samuel and you have McCaffrey and then you have Kittle and then you have the way that Shanahan's able to use those guys to get open, and then now you have Ayuk, who's kind of establishing himself as somebody as well. That's the reason I'd point that out as well. I got a guy Savage here. What's up? How are we doing?
Good morning.
Thanks for tuning in, my friend.
Thanks for tuning in.
Off that John Morant dunk, we talked about that a little bit.
Ridiculous.
But Purdy, athletic freak himself. Back to it.
But then they have the secondary weapons in Juszczyk and who's the second? Elijah Mitchell is a good running. Like he's not like a scrub getting the ball. He could start on most teams. Like it's deep, and if Purdy can get the ball out, they'll be good.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think he's even the biggest concern anymore for the team here. So we'll see what happens there with it. So next week should be an interesting game. If it's you and Dallas, that's kind of the one I'm kind of, I don't know, rooting for a little bit. But that will be a Giants win to happen today for that to be possible. So we'll have to see what happens in that game. Because I was kind of thinking, you and the Giants have history, but that's just not going to happen if they pull it out. So we'll have to wait. Eagles, Giants, that's not what I want to see. So I guess Viking. I feel like that game with the Eagles. I just don't like that series, that one overall. Like Cowboys, Eagles. I don't know. What do you think of that matchup? So that's the one I'm trying to think ahead to, like, if there's any matchup ahead to these guys where they could get like surprised in the divisional round, the Eagles or the Niners.
I think the Cowboys could give the Niners and the Eagles the most trouble of these two. If the Cowboys lose, I think it's a like easy Niners Eagles NFC Championship. I think the Cowboys can beat anybody, but like I said before, the Cowboys will give you a chance to win that game, even if they are dominating. And I don't think they're going to dominate either of these teams either.
McCarthy, if they play the Niners, just for sarcasm, he should run a quarterback sneak on the first play.
Was that a McCarthy thing or a Dak thing? That was just a bad play by both of them. Yeah, that was good.
We're going to get this right. We are going to get it off in 15 seconds. I don't care if we get it off before they start to run it before that. Right there. That's awesome. All right. Hey, so anyways, Niners game, that will be good next week. We'll see what happens there. It should be a fun matchup with whoever they play at. You'll have home field advantage, and Tyler, yes, you will have the playoff end zones that we all like. So you'll have that.
Darren, before we move on from the Niners, what's like your Raiders fan? What's your take on this Niners team? You like this Niners team? I feel like you don't like them, but is it?
No. But you got to be honest. I've been saying for a long time this team has been. I've been saying for like probably since week 5, even on our other show, that I think they're the best team in the league, just because their defense to me is different. Hits different than any team I see, and their offensive weapons are really good. And Purdy has come in and made their offense 30 times better than it ever has been under Jimmy G. So how can you not like it? I mean, they're on an 11-game win streak right now too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if they go on to win the Super Bowl, that'd be a 14-game win streak. They'd pay the Dolphins. Is that pop some champagne right there? Take that, Dolphins. But anyways, that's my take on that regard. I just want to see Niners, Eagles. All right, hey, let's keep it moving here to the Jags, Chargers. I really want to get to this game as well. The Jags beat the Chargers. The most Chargers game of all possible, right? I mean, how?
Oh, geez.
And the thing, I don't know. When I tweeted that, you saw that tweet I had about I forget what they wrote. I said, like, the Chargers are going to make this game close, right? I think it was like 27-7 when And they do. There's certain franchises and teams that just do not know how to close out ball games. Trust me, I've been a fan of a few in my lifetime. It happens, and you can just sense it, right? And they had the home field. They didn't have the chance. The Chargers settled for a couple field goals that really would have put the game out of hand when they had the chance to. And they gave Lawrence a little life, and he's good enough where you can throw 4 straight interceptions, and if you give him enough time, he can beat you with 4 touchdowns in just one of the wildest games. Maybe thinking about when I knew we were going to do wild card memories, I was like, well, this game's going to fit under that one.
Yeah.
This one's definitely going to fit there for sure. I don't know, man. The Jags have played a few wild card crazy games, but what do you think? What do you make of this game? Hard to even kind of really start anywhere.
Welcome Sean Payton to the LA Chargers. I mean,
Yeah, really. Huh?
It says Brandon Staley's fired. That's I think obvious. The game in itself. Asante Samuel comes from his dad's loins. He makes plays in the playoffs. But the negatives on the Chargers Brandon Staley's got off. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it went wrong. They didn't turn the ball over a ton. They just didn't. They stopped playing defense. I don't know. I don't know about what the Chargers did. And Bosa lost his mind.
Nice. They will be fine. That was one of the more epic ones I've seen on the sideline there. I was like, this is wrestling-esque right here.
I'm glad Nick Bosa has a better demeanor.
I like how the coaches were like, all right, we're not even going to get in front of him, really. It's like, we're not blocking that. They can't go that way.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got to go for sure. And we got so I don't know. I just thought that Bosa thing was crazy over there, just losing his mind over that. It kind of was like it kind of put that whole thing into perspective. They have no control of the situation. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of their best players is losing it as they're like just deteriorating as we're watching this over the play out on live TV.
Yeah, and then they stopped playing him on the last drive. He was on the sidelines for half the drive. Like, what are they doing? Like, do they think he's ejected because it was the second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty? But it wasn't. It was for throwing a helmet. It wasn't against officials or another player, so he was fine. I don't get why he wasn't playing in that drive.
He also had that big offside earlier in the game too.
Back to what Savage said with the +5 turnover. I saw a stat where, like, if you're +3 in turnover differential, you win like 98.7% of your games in the playoffs, and +5, that's almost double. Like, it's gotta be. It's wild. It's just a bad, unclutched franchise.
And you have a good running back. You should be able to like take care of business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's and your quarterback.
You have a good quarterback.
Yeah. What do you think this does for Herbert long term?
Oh man, the shine is dimming. I've always been a huge Herbert guy, and I don't know. I don't love the guy anymore. I'm not like, oh, he's the greatest quarterback prospect. I think Burrow's passed him, and I don't know. That's a lot. It's not. I mean, it doesn't ruin him. It could. I don't know. Confidence is a big thing, but we'll see. It takes the shine off his.
It definitely puts the Peyton play in here. Sean Payton.
Oh,
right? It definitely just feels like the obvious, like, I mean, as long as their owner's willing to pay the money and like it just kind of feels like he's the guy next in line. He's the guy out there everybody seems to want. I know there's going to be other jobs, but that job is going to be the most, looked at, one of the best jobs out there with Herbert. And you have Eckler as your running back, you know what I mean? So, and you have the wide receiver. And then the last thing I was going to say with Staley too, is we didn't even touch on it, was last week when he gets Williams hurt. By overplay and just stuff like that too. Just can't have that. So in that regard, hey, does this make you like in Lawrence factor? Does this like put him ahead of Herbert in any regard? Like, I don't know. Like, does it like do anything for him? I mean, he's like I said, 4 picks. It's not like he played, and a couple of those picks were me and Madden. Like, God, see the linebacker, see the player underneath. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, Lawrence is good. I like Lawrence. I said it in the little Street Cats video. I like where Lawrence is. I think he's getting better every day. I don't think he's ahead of Herbert. He might be ahead of him in the shampoo commercials now after that big one.
He might be ahead of him in that regard, yes.
Herbert, I guess they're kind of the same player now. I think they can put up numbers, and we'll see if they can win games. Like, this was a lucky win in all. Like, you're down 27-0. It's not an ideal way to play quarterback.
No, well, let's tell Tom Brady that. He's been making a living off this year. All right, hey, let's go to our Show Me teams of the week here. Brought to you by Row One Brand. Use the code VSN15. Get 15% of the art off your already there. All right, hey, who's your Show Me team of the week? got show me player of the week. Give me one of those.
My show me team is in player on the same team. It's Kirk Cousins. I don't believe in Kirk. I think Kirk is the quarterback version of the San Diego Chargers. Let's see what he's got. He's going against a Giants team that isn't as good as the Vikings when it comes to like the talent, but anything can happen in playoff football. And let's see if he'll put up numbers. We know that.
I don't believe in Kirk. That's a very strong
Yeah. Captain Kirk is not my captain.
All right. So are they your team too? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, and the Vikings they started off 10-1. They were everyone's favorite team. And I have said they've been garbage.
You have a bet going with people in this or something? I feel like you've been hating on the Vikings.
Yeah, me and Tev of Three the Hardaway and Let's Be Real have a bet. If I lose, I have to have Kirk Cousins as my profile picture for 48 hours, and he has to have Christian McCaffrey as a 49er for 48 hours if Kirk loses.
I like that little side bet going on. I felt like some little extra hatred there with the Vikings this year. All right, my show me team is Daniel Jones of the Giants going against the Vikings in a playoff game. Show me you can step up and give me a close game there. Vikings have shown that they're like the Chargers in some senses. They're going to play a close game, even though they are 8-1 at home. And the Giants don't have a very good road record, but I'd like to see something from Jones. Like you say, he doesn't have his contract picked up for next year. It'll be interesting going in. He'll probably get franchise tag is my guess. That's where I'm thinking. I don't believe he'll get like a 5-year deal unless he's willing to take like less money, which actually probably wouldn't be a bad idea. You know what I mean? So that'd be something that would be good to go. Yes, that is a good little side bet they have going there. You gotta get Captain Kirk too with the little chains up there to get that one.
Yeah, when he's on the plane.
Yeah, you'll have to get that one out there too. That'll be the one you'll have to use. It's out there. All right, so I got that one. And then my show me team. I don't know why this team. I feel like they're not going to play well, but I want to see something from the Ravens. I feel like the Bengals are just on fire right now, and like the Ravens are just it feels like a dumpster fire before the game has even started with all this talk about Jackson being gone. And now you're hearing Harbaugh. What's it with the Harbaughs every offseason? They're like the Kardashians of the offseason. I don't know this stuff. And it's like unbelievable. But anyways, I got the Ravens. Show me something this week. Show me got a little heart, a little soul, a little energy. Show me you're the Ravens that I always depend on to give me a close, brutal game here against Jimmy's Bengals. We'll see if Jimmy's probably be rocking those glasses tonight as well. So those are my show me teams and players of the week here, brought to you over by Row One Brand. Tyler, anything you want to add to that before we move on to wild card memories?
Do you think Jimmy will have a lit cigar while he's hosting the?
Have you ever had a cigar?
Talk of the Gridiron. I mean, I've had like Black and Milds and nasty ass cigars like that. No, I never smoked like a real good cigar. No, it's not my thing. I don't even. It's nasty. I don't smoke anymore.
Off the street. I meant like the one.
No, I've never had one of those.
Me either.
Cuban looking ones.
Looks tough.
Not for me.
I remember when I tried coffee the first time, black coffee. I was like, I got it. I was like, I'll get better at it. I just got it the first time. It's I don't want to do that with cigars. That'd be a good approach. All right.
Every time I've been offered a cigar, I've been hammered and I end up puking. It's a real answer. I'll be at a wedding and they'll be like, "Here's a cigar." And then I'll end up like,
that's the Black and Mild is the only cigar you've had.
A Swisher Sweet.
Yeah, those are also popular in those situations. All right, let's go to one of my the part I was looking forward to the most here this week: NFL wild card memories. I feel like this part it's always different for people, right? Because you're either maybe at somebody's house and you saw something, or you're maybe you just were like listening to it on the radio or whatever. Just something came up big and you kind of remember it for some odd reasons. So give me like some of your favorite wild card memories. It doesn't even have to be involved with Niners. I'm sure a few will, but give me a couple. I'll throw a few out your way as well.
Well, let me start with the one where I was at your house. I was watching the game with you and your brother, and it was the Cats 2. T.O. against the Packers, right? A couple plays before Jerry Rice fumbles the ball. Thank God there's no instant replay. There's instant replay the next year. And T.O. catches – he didn't catch anything all game. He drops like 2 touchdowns. And then made the play that started his career and the trajectory it was going. And then I had the Tim Tebow 80-yard pass to Demaryius Thomas where he completed. No, I don't. They're nasty. They're gross. They're not for me.
You do. You enjoy it when you do. When you enjoy it when you don't remember it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I got the Tim Tebow throw to Demaryius Thomas in 2011. Yeah. He has like 6 completions all game. I got the Beastquake. And then the one that resembled last night's game, I have the Colts versus Chiefs. Alex Smith's first year on the Chiefs. They go up 38-10. And Andrew Luck does what Trevor Lawrence does, brings them back, and they win 45-44.
T.Y. Hilton had 224 yards in that game, too. I forgot looking that up, how many touchdowns that man had over there. And then you bring up the Niners versus the Giants one, where you guys won on
No, I did not bring that one up.
What was that? Was the one you guys won like 30, what I got here, 38, 37 or something like that on the Giants missed field goal attempt at the end. But it ends up with the guy trying to throw the ball, and there's like still controversy around that because the Niners guy PI'd the guy out in front or something like that. There's like that was one of the craziest plays of all time, and that one was funny too because it's like I remember how pissed the team was at the snapper, like. You know what I mean? Like,
he was a new snapper too. Hadn't played all year. His name was like
Junkin or something like
that.
that.
Junkin. I thought it was Junker. Yeah, Junkin. Yeah, I have a couple more. I'll let you take a couple, and if these two off.
Well, I just remember that one because I felt bad for the guy too. Like even after the game, man, I was
he was like a 44-year-old like normal guy who came out to do this job, and he just gets roasted.
Was that? I can't remember. Was that Fossil or was that?
That was Big Fossil.
Is that Big Fossil? All right, so I got that one. I got the Music City Miracle where Dyson gets the 75-yard touchdown off the wide check play. Just a crazy game with Rob Johnson starting. It's one of the most things that we remember the most about that game. Christie hits the field goal to take the lead, and just one of the worst special teams plays of all time on defense. Right? You can't allow a 75-yard touchdown with 16 seconds left.
My email was Bills for Bull because I was a Bills fan back then. And they went to Rob Johnson, the fruit with the headband. I was like, what are we doing? And there we go. It was a tough loss for me back in my younger days. That's for sure.
I also got Arizona 51, Packers 45 in overtime where Dansby gets the fumble recovery. Obviously, I was kind of a Cardinals fan at that point. That was one that always stands out where he gets that the sack, so you get sacked, the fumble there. Warner throws for like 400 yards. Just crazy numbers all game.
Was that their run to the championship? Was that their run to the championship?
No, that was the wild card around there. And then the one other one I got too is the Hasselback one where he calls a shot when they win the coin toss. He goes, "We're gonna get the ball and score." So I got to go that one as well. With the
Al Harris,
Seahawks end up losing in overtime on Al Harris interception.
Yeah, another one we left off is the Randy Moss mooning the Packers, and Joe Buck saying that is the most disgusting act I've ever seen. It's like a fake mooning. Get out of here, Joe. What are you talking about? It's just a fake mooning.
I forgot about that. There's that, and then there's a few other, like the Tebow one with the Steelers where they were up, and then of course the Broncos blow it, and then
I mentioned that one.
Thomas gets the. Did you mention that one? Okay, Thomas gets the touchdown there. What was the other one I had? I was thinking about the Chargers too. The Chargers have had some tough losses over there. I remember them with the Jets one year. They lost a game where they missed Nate Kading. They came back with Breeze throwing a touchdown to Gates to tie it up. And then Kading misses a short field goal and then the Jets come down and make a field goal. Like the Chargers have a way. Yeah, they just have some tough ones over there. And then I posted that one I like too with Jerry Rice against the Jets. Charlie Gardner puts the game away with that long touchdown run. That's one of my good wild card games.
And then we have the Savage's favorite offensive coordinator, Frank Reich, leading the Bills to a 32-point comeback versus the Houston Oilers in '92. That was I don't remember the game, but I just had to mention Frank Reich.
I remember that one for some reason because for some reason I have an image of where I was at that point was because we were looking for houses at that point. I remember my parents we were moving that year. And I remember the guy who had the game in the radio. He was an Oilers fan. And he was like, we were up 35-3. And he was kind of talking about the game. And obviously I was into sports. So that game always stands out to me for that reason. And then I love that the little documentary thing they do on was it NFL Films on ESPN. And that's one of the games they did. And I don't know why that game always stands out to me. I always feel bad for the Oilers. It never turns out well, though, in that regard. So, those are a few I got. And then for some reason, that Dolphins running back got 209 yards against the Colts. That one.
Lamar Miller?
No, yeah. That one, I was it's such a random one that stood out to me there. So, wild card games. I think the Owens one is a great one, Tyler, there to have as well in the comeback. So, you got any others?
Yeah. The Tony Romo bot snap versus Seahawks in his rookie year. I don't know why he's still holding kicks. And the old Charlie Brown.
And that was a short field goal, was it?
It was like an extra point, basically.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was closer than an extra point, technically.
He almost ran for a first down.
No, he did. All right, well, there's our NFL part for the week here. A lot of good games to get into today. We'll probably touch on a little bit of those next week as we get the Niners set ready for their divisional round. Tyler will get into that with his TMB podcast as well. Tyler, all right, that's the football part here. Why don't we keep it moving here at the NFL part of the show here, with the NBA part here. So let's start with the Warriors, kind of get them out of the way here. First, they had a short week, only played 2 games. They split the week against the Suns, and then like I said right there, an embarrassing loss. They didn't even play their best players. Was it Bridges was really the only main guy in there. It felt like they just couldn't get the job done. I know with those games when you have a player come back like Curry, it's always a little weird, but I don't know. That was one that just kind of stood out to me. That was just kind of one of those bad losses the Warriors have been suffering this year. Unnecessary, like completely. You know what I mean? Like just play harder. Play a little bit more focused. So. That was a really tough one there. And then they obviously beat the Spurs in the big game where they have the sellout, right? Always, the big deal, 68,300 and whatever they said, 53 people out there. I want to make sure it wasn't through 52. Can we count? Can we make sure there wasn't somebody that was sick that had tickets at the game? So the Warriors played really good in that game, but it's hard to take the Spurs seriously. They're just playing really bad right now. Like they don't, you know what I mean? Like they can't shoot from the outside. And in the NBA, if you don't have any threats, like you're in trouble. So that's kind of the Warriors' week in that sense. I don't know, anything stand out to you from the week that was? I know, like we said, probably the really bad loss on Tuesday there.
It was a great game on Friday and a just absolutely pathetic game on Tuesday. Tuesday, I was like, this team sucks. How are we losing to Mikal Bridges and a bunch of scrubs? Torrey Craig was their second best player, maybe. It was just ugly. I was very disappointed. I was like, this is embarrassing. Like, we've lost to the Pistons twice, lost to the Magic twice, and then we lose to the Suns are worse with those players. And then coming back to Friday, everyone shot the ball well. They didn't miss. It was fun to watch. No one had more than 25, I believe. Maybe Poole got to 25. Even Tenzo played well. Just a complete team effort. With playing the Spurs, it seems like you get complete team efforts.
That one guy, man, he wants to be Robin Harry this week. I know he did it for this on purpose, but Curry got honored there. He seemed like he was very appreciative of all that. I don't know, just a very odd, just kind of one of those very boring weeks. It feels like in the NBA season, right, for the Warriors. Yeah. So we'll keep it moving on that part of it. Probably, like I said, the biggest part is they played with 68,000. I think that's the type of stuff the Warriors get focused on now, like playoff game, like that. You know what I mean? Like, and we'll get into that later. Here's the week ahead. They go on the road, which has been trouble all year for them. Got Chicago, Washington, Buffalo, Boston, and then Cleveland. They'll end up playing the Nets on Sunday, but I feel we'll talk about them more next week. So what do you got here? What do you think the record will be here? 4-6 on the road, like I said.
If you lose to Washington and
they've lost to bad teams all year. What are you talking about? They got swept by the Pistons.
Well, you say they get up for the good team, so they should get up for Boston and Cleveland. Washington, Chicago, they should win. I'm going 2-2. I can't put anything on the road higher than 500. They've been so bad, 4-16. I'll go 2-2. They'll keep their 500 streak alive and be 23-23 after this week. Until I see further improvements, it's hard to give them anything higher than 500 on the road.
That Boston game will be interesting.
Oh, they're going to get up.
Well, I don't know. I'm curious. Sometimes the Warriors get smashed in regular season games in this career. I'm kind of curious, how I'm curious where they're at mindset wise.
But they're 20 games over 500 at this point.
I don't know. I'm just curious where they are at, and the same thing with Cleveland. Where are they going to be? And then they got the Nets after that. You talk about a pretty tough 3-game stretch right there.
They can't sleepwalk through the whole freaking season. They got to get up at some point.
Yeah.
This is going to be they're not going to make the playoffs if they keep this up.
Maybe they'll play in right now. There's a few teams sleepwalking through it. The Clippers doing the same thing.
Mm.
We'll see what happens. You got the Warriors 2-2. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say the Warriors go 3-1. I'm gonna say they lose to Boston. I'm gonna say they come out firing a little bit here and get 3-1, and then they lose to the Nets. It'll be 3-2 after when we meet next week. So, all right, let's do a little segment here I got for the Warriors. I call it "What's the Word?" You give me a word for the little sentence, for the little phrase I got here. All right, let's start with this one. The Warriors are 21-21, as you mentioned, at the mid-season point. Your word, sir, is
better. They got to play better. It's this 500 sleepwalking through the
Nutrition.
season is not enough. They have to be better. They played better against the Spurs. They're on a little higher trajectory. It was the Spurs, but they just got to keep playing better and better and better and get healthier and healthier.
I have closing. I think the Warriors have to close games better. That has been the issue all season. They've lost a lot of bad games on the road that way, especially to bad teams. And like we had the ones with Poole last week slipping a few times. Like those are games that they just have been losing. And on the road, you don't get away with it as much as you do at home. And they got punished a little bit for that this week at home, more so than they had earlier in the year. So I think closing for me is the big thing when I see a 21-21 record at the midseason point with the roster the Warriors have. All right. What's the word? Steve Kerr makes a rare acknowledgement. I feel like with the Warriors roster stretched thin, they've had to play a lot of guys hurt. Like I mentioned, Jerome and Lamb, they're going to have to start sitting games because of situations as well. The word I have is trade. That just tells me that they need reinforcements. They need some sort of energy boost. They need somebody. It doesn't have to be the best player in the world, but they just need somebody to maybe come in and give them a little bit of life. Not quite as bad as like a Verichild type of trade, but like a little bit better than that, hopefully. But I just feel like they need some sort of life to kind of get the juice going a little bit. I think the Iguodala part does help a little bit, him coming back. But I don't, you know what I mean? I feel like they just need something a little different as well. So what do you got?
Well, I agree with you. I think it's down to the G League. We're going to go and find these Lamb and Jerome types, and they're going to fill that role. I don't see us.
I want those guys.
I don't either. I'm with you, but that's what we're getting. That's what he's telling us. We're going to have our rosters thin. We're going to have to bring guys out. Lamb and Jerome aren't going to be able to play. We're getting Mac.
Don't you think he's maybe telling us that to make a bigger splash though, to fool us?
Well, I hope you're right.
He knows he can't.
But no, I don't
with a
believe
G
that.
League guy. He's got to know that.
Before we brought Gary Payton up and turned into a player. I think
the
Warriors.
Season, though?
When did Gary Payton come up a couple years ago? I don't know.
Yeah,
this is what we're getting. I don't think we're making it. Who are you willing to trade? I don't think like most people aren't willing to trade these young guys. I'm down to trade them.
I just don't think the G League will be the answer at this point in the season. That's not the way to go. I feel like you're going to have to make something a little bit bigger than that to make a difference on your roster. All right, what's the word? Last one. We have the contract extension, the weird thing going on here with Bob Myers. I feel like he's done a pretty good job this year. Maybe there's some things that we can question a little bit more than in the past. But, my question is he had the best 10-year run in Bay Area history as a GM? He's got the 4 championship, the rosters he's put together, the players that have been on these teams, the star power, the coach power, dealing with Lacob, which I'm sure isn't easy at times. I don't know. I mean, like I said there, Curry's the only one on the roster he didn't technically draft. He was around them, but he didn't draft them. What do you think of that?
I think that's easy. Yeah, I mean, McVay's there, but he only was there for 7 years for the 49ers in the 80s. He's got to be the best.
I was thinking the Giants, maybe. I was thinking maybe
but the other years they missed the playoffs. Billy B never won a championship. I think you did get a movie if that counts for championships. I think it's easy.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, and that's what's interesting with this part with the Warriors. Like, there's some uncertainty there too. Lacob's tried to put that to rest, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. So I got 100. You got easy. I think that's just kind of what it is for us. Like, easy decision. He's definitely the best GM that there's been in the last 10 years. So we'll see what happens with them going forward. With that part, because if they don't sign him, that does put a lot of question marks more onto the roster going forward, right? Like, definitely, like with Green, like he's a big Green guy, right? In that regard, he's always had his back. Like, there's just certain things that that would definitely change. And
what happens with? Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say the Lacob part too.
Yeah, what happens with Kerr going forward if he has a different GM? Does Kerr take over the GM roles? I don't want that. I don't like when guys have double roles. It just leads to not good things normally. No,
I agree. All right, let's keep it going. NBA here. That's a Warriors part for the week. All right, give and go here. Has the NBA ever had this many good guards at one time in the league? You know what I mean? I was thinking about how maybe there's been more star power at one time, but I feel like the depth of the league is ridiculous to where these guys are guys got the knee guard on the Pacers tearing it up. You got guys that can go one-on-one, create so much offense that A lot of these guys in the past couldn't. Kind of your thoughts on that question there.
Yeah, I think it's the best guard play we've seen, at least in my life. I mean, and just in general, the league's deeper. The league depends on guards more than ever. It's just way deeper. The Jalen Brunsons, the Newards, the Matherins, the young guys who can step in right away. I think it's definitely the best time to be a guard and the most talent the NBA's had at the guard position.
Yeah, because the 90s, I was looking at there, they had a lot of good guards. There's a lot of depth there, the late 90s, early 90s, like that kind of era with Peyton, Mark Price, John Stockton, you had, the Williams, you had those guys coming in, you had Francis coming in, you had some good Marbury, you had Iverson, you had good guard play. But it was different, right, with the way the league was structured at that point for these guys to really succeed. And the one-on-one games were different, right? Like the shooting ability of these guys from the outside is just so much more superior now. I just did a curious thing looking at it real quick. The guys now that are leading the scoring in the top 50 guards-wise, there's 25 right now, and the guards leading it. 10 years ago, there was, or 15 years ago, there was 21 in the top 50. And 10 years ago, there was about 15. So it's kind of, definitely increased here, obviously, with the offense getting more. Some of the big names now leading the scoring is SGA, Mitchell, Lillard, Young, Morant, Edwards, Halliburton, Murray, Barrett. Those names don't jump off as superstars, though. So as I was kind of looking at it a little bit more, I was like, well, maybe some of the star power isn't necessarily as good, though, as some of the other years with it. But I think the depth of these guards is the big factor there, like we said, where they can just create way more offense than even Poole. Look at him or Tyler Hero, like guys like that. You know what I mean? Like it's the freedom they have as guards over there. All right. Give and go here. What trades will tanking teams make? Like I said, Victor and Scoot there at the top there, the ultimate prizes. I don't know the standings, Tyler. There's some tanking teams that should be looking to do this. It'll be interesting with the Raptors sitting, just outside in the Eastern Conference. I feel like they have the most pieces to trade, right? With Siakam, possibly OG. They got some guys that they could really, with the Wizards too. The Magic, I feel like they'll just kind of stay neutral there. Pistons and Hornets should be trying to do anything. That's the Eastern. What do you got? Maybe some trade wise around the league.
I like the Bulls to make some trades with like Dragic and Vucevic and even maybe Zach LaVine. If I'm the Bulls, I'm tearing this thing down. Or DeRozan even. You have a lot of guys you can get picks for and assets for. That's who I would. I think like maybe a Vucevic and Dragic to Dallas. I think would be a perfect fit. You could have Dragic play the little what's the little guy who was on the Mavericks when they won the championship? And then they need a big. No, not Terry. The little white guy.
Barea.
Yeah, Dragic could do the Barea thing, and then Vucevic, they need a big who can rebound.
All right, that's a good one.
Another one I have is Eric Gordon to Milwaukee. Pair him up with Drew Holiday. They need scoring. They can't score right now without Giannis. And then you'd have the old New Orleans Pelicans. They're familiar with each other. I think that'd be a good addition.
He's a good shooter out there, too. I've always liked Eric Gordon. He's just always been kind of like even when he was on the Pelicans back in the day. Yeah, he's always kind of been like a solid NBA player. Like he just kind of always been like on a weird teams. I feel like and injured. He's always been involved in trade pieces.
Yeah, exactly. He's always been like a trade guy. And then my biggest trade I have I have three, but John Collins to Indiana. Kuzma to the Kings, and then if the Warriors do anything, if they try and get somebody who's halfway decent, I hope they go get Bogdanovich from Detroit. I don't know how they make the salaries work, but that's the guy I'd like to be on the Warriors.
I actually wouldn't mind John Collins on their team either, but I don't see that happening with the way that with the way the contracts are. Who did you have Collins going to?
John to Indiana.
Indiana. That to me, that doesn't make sense in terms of like why he would, just kind of a weird timeline move, but. Maybe not. Maybe that makes sense.
He's only 23 or 24. I think it fits right in with Mathurin.
Give up Turner for him, or is that what you think the deal is?
Yeah, I think that. Or
maybe that makes sense. The Hawks get more of a veteran center in that regard to protect the paint, more so than what Collins can provide.
And something different. The Hawks can't just go forward.
But the Hawks have who's the big guy I'm missing that used to be on the Rockets?
Clint Capella.
A lot of people like Big Clint.
He's good for a lob.
He's good for a lob over there. The Kuzma to the Kings, I feel like he's been rumored to go to the Kings for years. And he has been on a signing or whatever. I don't think the Kings make a move like that.
But you think they're going to stand pat? This is the roster they're going forward with?
I'm not sure. I don't think that. I mean, do they just trade their first round picks for Kuzma?
I don't know about maybe Barnes in the first.
I don't think they trade Barnes.
Let's see.
I think Barnes. I feel like Barnes is like kind of their guy in some regards in this team. Like he's kind of like their nucleus guy in a sense. Kind of like you know what I mean. Like I just feel like not saying he's the best player, but like his maturity is. I feel like they pick up. I think Mike Brown would not want that.
I mean, how good are you going to be with Barnes? I mean, don't you have more potential with Kuzma than Barnes? I get Barnes is steady, and I know who Barnes is. He's a good player. Yeah. But, like, I don't know. I feel like you're actually good for one time, the first time in a couple years or 20 years. Got to do something.
Thank you, Barnes. Get the hell out of here. All right, let's give it a go here. Did the NBA do anything with the NBA regular season? Like, what I mean by that is it feels like the games just don't matter. Like, we're at the point of the season where it just feels like the teams don't care. Doesn't it? I mean, like, I'm an NBA fan, but there's moments where I'm just like, I can just sense it with the Warriors. Like, there's like, yeah, he just needs some rest here. It's like, what? Like, I know this has always been an issue, but, like, to me, it's just the product is so watered down at times. Like, it feels like it's like broken down into 3 segments, right? The 60 is like the first 60 games, the last 20, and then the playoffs. It's like really all that matters. Like the first 60 games, I feel like the players don't even like really care all that much. They care, but you get my point. Like they wouldn't sit out this much. There's just no way that you could afford to if you had a 60-game regular season. And I don't know. That's just how I look at it.
Yeah, the only thing they can do is shorten the season. Like players are going to sit out if there's 82 games. What do you do? Fine them? Like that's hard to.
Well, the players are what you're selling, and they're not even there. I mean, that's the part that I don't get. Like, I don't know. To me, it's bad. To me, it's bad.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but what can you possibly do?
That's why this part of the season sucks to me.
It doesn't. I'm still entertained every night. I'm still entertained every night. I'm not like not watching. I mean, I get that it's not the greatest basketball.
It's entertaining, but it's still frustrating that the mindset in that regard to me is, I don't know, like, oh, yeah, we can just kind of afford to give them rest because we have 79 more of these. Like, I don't know. I just wish there was a little bit more, like, a little bit more for the regular season. That's the one part I do like about college sports and the NFL. Like, the regular season, like, really matters. Like, every week does matter. So, I don't know. I kind of miss that part of the basketball. I understand you're going to miss a game here or there, but some of them just feels a bit much to me. So, that's what I think with it give and go wise. Anything you want to add to that? No letter.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but to say it sucks is a bit much.
Well, remember the good old one where Popovich sent him home? He sent the ball for him home. On a plane. They didn't even show up to the game. They just sent him home. That was great.
That's wild.
Is that where it first started with that game? Like, it had to be. Like, remember you just sent everybody home? It was like supposed to be a big primetime TNT game. That had to be where this thing started.
It definitely started with the Spurs and them having that aging roster, and they were sitting out Manu and Tony Parker and Duncan regularly, and letting Kawhi carry the load.
I got 82 of these bad boys. Go home. That's all right. All right, we got our question of the week here from a guy here at Splash for 3. I think it's a good question here. Can the Nets sustain a 500 record and the rhythm they have now, even with Irving leading the way until KD returns? Tyler, your thoughts? The Nets have been on fire. They've been playing excellent basketball. KD has been exceptional. Irving has been really good when he's played. Go.
I think they'll be slightly under 500, but I don't think the whole thing's going to blow up while KD's gone. I mean, do we know how long KD's gone for? I know he gets
it looks like a month at least. It looks like a month at least.
I think they'll be around 500. I'll go a little under 500.
I'm gonna go. They stay at 500. I'm gonna say they stay just 2 games over 500. I'm gonna say they stay a little bit. I think Irving's playing well enough, and it seems like they have a little bit of a rhythm with Jock Vaughn that I think they can sustain this. Irving, when he's on his game and like things are going well, you know what I mean? Like he's a solid NBA player. So I think for a little part of the season here, they can sustain it. If he does, this would be a big test. So good question there regarding the Nets. I think this would be a really big part of it for them going forward. I don't know. The only question I have also with the Nets is like, when they fully get healthy, like they have Claxton that's also been up for Defensive Player of the Year. As like when they do get to the playoffs, they play those Giannis guys. Like, do they have enough bigs to sustain it? Like, is it just KD and Claxton? What do you think in that regard as well?
I don't think anyone can guard Giannis in the playoffs.
I just mean that depth is going to require in that regard.
No, if it's just them two, I can't think of another bit. Like Joe Alexander, there's no one who's guarding Giannis, but I think they're still good enough to beat the Bucks because the Bucks can't score outside of Giannis. So like, there's deficiencies on that team also.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, that's what I got that's our question of the week. Thank you for giving us that question. We appreciate that. At Splash for 3, probably a Warriors fan is my guess. Tyler, that's our last part of the show. Our last part of the show here. Always our favorite part: winners and losers of the week. Spelled Geek on purpose. Thanks, Ryan, for that. I appreciate it. Tyler, what do you got for maybe your loser of the week?
My loser is Brandon Staley and the whole San Diego Chargers organization. You blew a 27-point lead, up 27-0, just in control. The Jaguars should have been out dead at that point. And your head coach, I don't know, you should be able to manage a win at that point.
It was already, like I said, maybe loser of the week because of
Mike Williams breaking his back
too much.
Yeah.
So. All right,
goodbye, Brandon Staley.
I got Aaron Rodgers. We didn't get a chance to talk about his dramatic walk-off in that last game. Just typical Rodgers fan. I just love that part where he's just walking off, and the guy asks for his jersey, and he's like, no, and it's all slow, and the camera is pushing away. He's got the face. He's kind of, just kind of soaking it all in, I guess you would say. Maybe it's a harsh loser of the week, but I don't know. There's something corny about that in my sense where it's not a loser in that sense, but there is just something where I was like, oh man, come on. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You see the Randall Cobb, like when there's an arm around Randall Cobb walking down the tunnel. He's just a smug asshole. Let's be real. He's just a smug son of a gun who doesn't care what anybody thinks. And he comes off that way. He's not afraid to hide it.
I also had a winner for loser of the week. The NBA says they missed 7 calls in the last couple minutes of the Lakers Mavericks game.
That's pathetic.
7 missed calls, not a good thing. Get up 7, maybe a couple, but 7 seems a little high in that regard. And then a big concern for me too is the technicals in the NBA. Some of the technicals that are given out for like Alvarado pointing a gun or whatever, pointing a finger. I don't know what it was. It looked like it didn't even look like it was a gun, like in serious manner. Tatum the same way earlier in the year. Morant got ejected earlier. Green for it, and Stewart got into something. He was ejected. I've been saying it for a couple of years now. This is going to happen in a playoff game and ruin something. Like this is unnecessary, like technicals where like a ref is going to call. Like to me, they're unnecessary. They don't need to be called. Like they're wasted technicals, and somebody's going to get ejected. That's going to like swing a game. So I don't know.
You mean Draymond Green against the Cavaliers?
No, that was different. He wasn't even out that game. He was out the next game.
Yeah, because of technicals.
I know, but I mean
technicals that added up.
I mean, in the game itself, though, I mean, like moment, like something like that happens, like where you actually get a player ejected, like from the game, not like actually ejected the next game because he built up technicals. Like, I just think these stupid little technicals like that too, that as well is going to be a factor. But I'm like talking strictly in the game moment where it's like 5 minutes left in the game, 91-84, and the guy picks up his second technical because of something stupid like that. That's what I'm more like thinking, like in my head, like, what are we doing with some of these? It's just like have a better sense of the moment, referee. You don't need to call everything and ruin the game. So to me, that's a big loser of the week. I just don't like that stuff at all.
I'm with you. I don't like it.
So I agree with what you're saying in that regard too. I just like, in the moment I could see the game, like that game specifically be affected. The next game for sure. If you get that many, sometimes I don't feel as bad for that. Like, did you have 15 to get in the regular season? So use them wisely or whatever. All right. Winners of the week. Tyler, who do you got for winner of the week?
I got John Lynch going out and getting Christian McCaffrey and what he did this week. Just emphasize John Lynch's mastery as the GM of this 49ers football team. The team's loaded, has like a couple soft spots, nothing weak, and it's loaded for a prime playoff run. And it's all because of John.
All right, my winner and loser my winner for the week is I got the catch, Tyler, just for you as a Niners fan.
I love all this 49er off.
Got to do it for you this week. I always feel like this was a big one for us because you always hear about this one. Somebody has it on their wall that you probably go to their house. It's just like one of those we heard. I was born in 1984, so you just kind of heard this one a lot growing up. I was talking to my parents about it yesterday. They said that so they've been married a year. They just got their house in Roanoke Park. They threw actually a party for this game. And I was like, well, that's a good game to throw a party for. You guys had a big, I guess, like a lot. So just one of the most famous plays in NFL history. A big deal around our neck of the woods in terms of just in terms of just everything in that regard. I don't know. We'll see what happens. What are we doing? I like good call on that one. All right, I like that. What are
too many technicals?
So, anyways, back to the winner thing. I think that one always just stands out. I think you're like your dad too. I feel like because he's got all those Niners things on the wall and like on the radio you hear it, and obviously Dwight Clark passing away a few years back. I don't know, just one of those plays. Winners of the week. I wanted to shout that one out.
I love the shout out.
What's your thoughts on that?
I've heard about it my whole life. My dad has a little plaque thing of Dwight Clark going up and getting it. Just a weird play, like picture before it where they're drawing in the dirt and it looks like he's throwing it away, and you have Ed Too Tall Jones just with the greatest nickname for the play. Also, he has to get it over his hand. It'll live in San Francisco history forever. My kids will know about it.
Yeah, it's just one of those plays that's hard not to think about, especially in the Bay Area here for it. All right, last couple here. I got DeMar Hamlin returns to see his teammates. Got to shout that out for winner of the week, right? We definitely gotta mention that one in that regard. Just create, movie will be made about that, documentaries for you. Just I don't know. It's one of those things. It's crazy to think he's walking around now a week later with his teammates. So incredible.
We didn't talk about the Bills-Dolphins game. Who do you have in that game?
I have the Bills.
Okay, good.
If the guy wins that game, right? Let's say the quarterback, Skylar Thompson, he wins that game. Is there controversy? I mean, if you beat the Bills, you're 13.5-point underdogs. Yeah, is there does he take over for Tua with Tua's I guess it depends how he looks, huh?
Maybe you just leave Tua out because he has a concussion, but he's one away from I don't know. He's in a scary spot, it seems. I don't want to see Tua come back this year. That Skylar Thompson guy was drafted ahead of Brock Purdy. They could have had Brock. Big, you know what, Brock.
I like them. Brock Purdy. That's my favorite. My other winner of the week is I got White Dunkers. Matt McGlow.
That's a future warrior right there. That's
White Dunkers. They get the dunk contest. So I feel like bring it back to Bob Sura days. He's in there. Chris Anderson never turns out well. We only have one with Brett Barry. I think he's the one.
That wasn't even good.
In the jacket. So I don't know. What do you got there with Matt McGlow? And I got him winner of the week. He's now entering the dunk contest as a G Leaguer. The NBA really getting desperate. I said yesterday, hopefully they'll just start doing Nerf dunk contests soon or something like that. Bring back Ernie the Elevator dunk contest. Those stuff might be better in that regard. So I just like to throw that as well. I thought that was kind of a funny little thing at the end.
Yeah, the dunk contest is dead. We don't even have NBA players in it. What are we doing here? Find something. I don't know. Have them play 2-on-2 in a game that don't try hard. I don't.
In that case, just bring in the best dunkers in the world that aren't NBA players and just have them do it. Pay them a lot of, pay them like $100,000 and just have them come in entertain people for half an hour. It'll be better than what we see, anyways, right?
Absolutely. That's a good idea. I agree. They should do that.
What? It's not my money.
They should make those guys.
Give a guy $1 million for all I care.
I want to be entertained. I'm not entertained.
Who's the Canadian guy? He'd probably win for sure. The guy who got that freak of nature. The guy that does that dunk behind to me, it's still one of the best dunks you'll ever see. Where he goes behind under it doesn't even look. He does the other hand over the. Yeah. One of the craziest dunks ever.
Who else is in the dunk contest? Do we know?
I think there was some Rockets guy in there too. I don't think it's Green either. I think he's in there. It's a rock. We'll get the backups from there. I knew it was getting bad. Then that Thunder guy got in there. I was like, who? They're bringing him up from the G League just for the last game. So, all right. The one that never panned out. I don't know why I'm ranting here at the end. Is I got very disappointed was in the one where the Warriors had home in 2000 where Vince Carter won the contest. Antoine Jameson was supposed to be in the dunk contest. I never in my life could ever think of him in a dunk contest. So I always miss out that he got hurt in that before that. Never.
What would have been his best dunk? Maybe like a bring it down and up. There's nothing fancy coming out of that.
A baby hook. There it is.
A little push shot. A little floater in the lane.
He was buddy with those baby hooks. All right.
Yeah.
Tyler McGurk, I'm Darren Breyer, Fatboy FadeAway Sports in the book here, episode 119. Tyler, congratulations again on your Niners win. Hopefully we're getting closer to a savage Eagles versus your Niners here at the playoffs. Thank you to Savage for commenting, tuning in. We appreciate it. Makes the show a little bit more entertaining in that regard when you guys do that. So always fun to interact. Thank you for the question as well this week. Tyler, till next week, my friend.
Check out TMB Podcast Wednesday night, 49er preview.
Sure. Check out those. Also, check out the stuff at Variety Sports Network. The guys are really working hard over there behind the scenes, really putting a lot of stuff together. Check out the new Variety Sports Network football page. I'm tweeting stuff out all weekend about memories and games. Please interact with me on that regard if you got any stuff. We're just trying to make a big push here this year in that regard. Check out the other podcasts. The guys at 3 the Hardaway, they're doing one later today. They'll touch on some stuff in the NBA regard. So check those out. The guys yesterday over at Let's Be Real and all the wild card previews here at VSN. So, and like Tyler said, his TMB podcast, they've been doing a good job. Jason did a great job with them on the show this week as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, for coming in.
So with that said, Tyler, till then, I'll see you next week, my friend. Peace.
Peace.